Back on the Coyote Volleyball Show, it's great to have you for another week. It is presented by Scooters Coffee. I'm John Thayer, joined by the head coach of the Coyotes, Leanne Williamson. Her team coming off of 3 victories this week at the South Dakota Classic, and a classic that had a theme every day, and the fans were excited to be there every single day. Coach, you look back at the weekend, the South Dakota Classic. How do you assess, obviously, a successful weekend, 3 victories? How do you assess the weekend?
It was a fantastic weekend for us in a couple different ways. First, it was great to be back home in front of our home fans. Like you mentioned, the 3 different themes with our colors, and Coyote Nation showed up. Over 1,600 the first night, 2,100 the second night, and 1,100 the third night. And for a Sunday game, I think of that number I was really happy with, and they made a difference. I think just our team absolutely feeds off of the energy that our fans create, and the students were wonderful through that as well, and with them in their new section, their new home here at the SCSC. So I think that was great. I think the other part of it is we got better as the weekend went on. 3 really tough opponents, 3 different opponents that each challenged us in different ways. Friday night, I think you saw some of the nerves with our team of playing at home for the first time this year, but we got better through that. We got more comfortable with that, and then we were able to really take advantage of the fans behind us, I think, moving beyond that first match. But beating Iowa State on our home court, first time we have taken a match from them, and we've played them quite a bit, so I was really happy with that in a pretty good way. And then UTEP is an incredible team, and we knew that they were going to challenge us. I kind of really think they were probably the second best team here over the weekend, and we were able to take them out of what they wanted to do. And we made some really good adjustments on the court during the match. So all in all, I'm thrilled with just how the weekend went, just in terms of this team growing and able to grow through wins.
Go back to Friday night last week. We talked about Matt Houck returning to Vermilion and somebody who got you into coaching and all of that. How was that reunion of sorts on Friday?
It was great to see him. We went out for coffee that morning and just caught up a little bit, and he's doing really well. Him and his wife are really happy out at Montana State, and that obviously makes me happy, as well. But it was great to reconnect and just catch up, and honestly for him to see this place, because he left before this opened up, and it was, I think, a cool moment for him too, to be able to come back and see it finish. So I have a lot of respect for him and his family and what they're doing at Montana State, but obviously really happy too that we were able to come away with the win.
What a great battle between the 2 teams on Friday. Ultimately, what was the difference? What allowed your team to get that win?
I think we were better in the 5th set. When you get down to the 5th set, anything can happen, and we came out, and I think we were the more aggressive team. I think we made plays in that scenario in order to earn that win. But looking back, watching that match back, I think we were in more control that match than I think even what our team realized. We had leads in each of those sets, and 2 of them we gave up the lead. One of them we gave up that lead late, and I think with that, we had opportunities to win. We probably should have been able to, I would say, close that out in 4, but that's a good learning moment too. But Montana State, they did not stop fighting. They did not stop trying to make plays, and they were just able to make a few more down the stretch in 2 of those sets to extend it to 5.
You go to Saturday and a little bit of a slow start, but the team really gets things going after that first set.
Yeah, again, just that idea, I think that comfort piece is probably huge for this team, and I think we're learning about that a little bit more each time that we step on the floor, but we got better as that match went on too. I think our serving is one thing that I'm finding has been really good for us, getting teams out of system, taking them out of their offensive rhythm with our serve has been really beneficial, and really across the weekend, but I think especially Saturday and Sunday. So I was happy to see that, and I think just once we started to get that lead, you could just see our confidence grow and the intent and determination probably get a little bit higher. And then, I think really by that 4th set, I think we were running on all cylinders. We were doing a really good job in different areas of the game, and again, they were scoring points, but it wasn't stressing us out, and I was just really happy to see them do that in a game, let alone, playing against Iowa State, obviously a great opponent.
Similar thing on Sunday. Your team able to pull away in that fourth set to win the match, and against what you called a very, very good volleyball team.
Yeah, going into that match, one of the things we talked about before the game was kind of feel like we could treat that like championship Sunday, right? We played 3 matches in 3 days. Both teams were 2-0 going into that final day, and I wanted them to attack it that way, And that first set, we didn't do that. I don't think we were as disciplined through it, and missed some really big opportunities for us, whether it was overpasses, some miscommunication with it, and yet we still only lost by, I think, 5 points. So, I think it was a good learning moment for us, but I was really happy to see how our team responded from it. And going back to last weekend, that wasn't something we responded to as well. So I was really happy to see that change and just how they attack sets 2 through 4, but we just kept getting better and better as the match went on. And, I'll say it again, they are a very, very, very good team. Probably one of the best offensive teams that we've seen other than maybe Louisville. But we were able to disrupt what they wanted to do, both with our serve and our block. Our block got a lot better. We had 1 block in sets 1 and 2, and then we had 10 blocks in sets 3 and 4. So really big change just with our timing, our vision, understanding what was coming at us. And again, as a coach, I couldn't be more thrilled that we were able to make some of those changes on the fly.
2 Power 4 wins in the last 2 weeks, Missouri and Iowa State, and I know that has been highlighted a lot, and it should be, but it's also, in a sense, kind of been the expectation for your program that you can go compete with anyone. So how do you bottle that up with the team and know that is an accomplishment, but it's also the expectation, and you got to keep moving forward?
Yeah, I don't know how to fully answer that one, because even when we beat Missouri, I'm not sure people saw it as big of a win, because they're kind of used to us in some ways doing that each year. But anytime we're able to knock off a Power 4 team, it's going to be huge for us. And there is an expectation that we can have success in those moments because of what we're doing, not only every day, but the work that we're going to put in on the court. So I think we always feel very confident that we are in every match and that we have the opportunity to beat anybody that's across from us. But I do think it is become a little bit more of that expectation, which is a good thing, and an expectation maybe from our fans that they don't even realize sometimes how big it is. So I like where our program is. I like that we have that expectation of ourselves. I do love that other people expect that out of us too, because they trust us. They think they believe in us and what we can accomplish. So it's a different place to be, but it's definitely a good place to be.
When you evaluate the weekend, what got better this weekend from last weekend that really helped this team be successful?
I do think our blocking got better. I think that was one thing that we talked about, our blocking and defense, just being a little bit more true to what we see every day in our own gym. And we still had to make some adjustments, and we still had moments or games that we weren't at our level. But I do think just more consistently we saw us playing at our highest level there. I think the other thing is the serve and pass game. It's one thing I actually really haven't mentioned a ton this year, although we continue to talk about it behind the scenes. But I think this might be one of the better serving teams that we've had here in years, and we've been a pretty good serving team. So for me to say that, I think says a lot, and I feel confident of our ability to get people out of system and then to defend the more of those out of system balls, where they're not able to score in those situations as well. But the other thing that kind of stands out to me is anybody can go off on any given day. And that first weekend out at Air Force, we were pretty equal, across the board. We had multiple, I think all 5 of our hitters after that first weekend were at over 2 kills per set and hitting for a pretty good percentage. The next weekend, I think we had a little bit more of certain people stepped up in certain games, and I think we continue to see that this week. We have some illness going around our team, nothing serious, but we had some people not feeling great, and I think it showed at times in their play, but other people were able to step up. Our middles have been really good in certain games. Lauren was obviously very good and consistent throughout this weekend, and Kylan stepped up on Sunday and made a huge impact. So it's been fun to watch how different people can take charge of a game or can impact a game maybe a little bit in more depth depending on who we're playing. And I think it's going to make it really hard to defend us as we continue to move forward because of that depth.
I always think it's impressive. Teams go through illness. It's just going to happen every single year. But some of these players step up when they're not feeling well And a lot of people may not even know that they're not feeling well. They really got to dig deep sometimes and really play hard.
They do. And, I give our team a lot of credit too, is they don't want that to be an excuse. So they don't talk about it much. But, even knowing we have one that has a sinus infection and an ear infection, and probably has all weekend. And I know what an ear infection feels like in an adult, and it's terrible. So I can't imagine having to play in front of, 1,100 to 2,100 people that are all screaming and making a lot of noise. And, I think, again, being able to work through that and being able to take care of their bodies, rest, recover as best they can, because sometimes the sickness just kind of needs to run its course. But, hopefully we can kind of get through that after this week. Today is an off day for us, recover a little bit more there, but it's definitely something that, you're right, it's a part of every year. And this is about the time that it tends to kick in. So hopefully this is the start and the end of it for us. But I think our team did a great job of supporting each other and doing what they could, giving their best in whatever way that was.
Another weekend tournament coming up for South Dakota. We'll talk about that coming up in just a little bit. Joining us next is Lauren Medeck, a freshman from Papillion, Nebraska, playing in her first collegiate season. We'll talk to her when we come back on the Coyote Volleyball Show, presented by Scooters Coffee.
This segment brought to you by Scooters Coffee. Scooters Coffee, amazing drinks, amazing people, amazingly fast.
Back on the Coyote Volleyball Show, presented by Scooters Coffee. We're joined this week by Lauren Medeck, the freshman from Papillion, Nebraska. Lauren, talk about your season, obviously coming off of this home tournament, but your first year of college volleyball. How would you assess it up to this point?
I think it's been successful, but I couldn't do it without the preparation from my coaches and my teammates. I think a lot of that comes from the trust that we've built off the court, and so me being able to play the way that I do comes from my teammates and from my coaches instilling a lot of confidence in me. So that's really helped with the success that I've had so far.
What has been your adjustment from high school volleyball to Division I college volleyball?
I think the difference is definitely the other side of the net. I think playing this high of competition every single day, even in our own gym, it's really different than high school and even club. I think playing against the amount of talent on the other side of the net is really good, and it's really different for me, but it's good for me because it makes me better and it makes everyone else better on my team. So.
Coming off a really successful weekend this weekend with 3 wins in the South Dakota Classic, what worked for your team?
I think playing with joy. We talked about it a lot in our film and stuff like that, but I think when we lost our joy, you could definitely tell on the court. But when we cheered each other on and really put emphasis on celebrating each other and each other's successes, that's when we were the most successful.
When you look at this weekend and you go through the matches, obviously there were some really intense sets. How do you keep yourself locked in, even when things aren't going your way, to try to get things bounce back?
Yeah, I just kind of fall back on my training, and I really rely on my teammates a lot, especially Avery. She's one of my people that I lean on a lot. If I don't get the hit right away, I'm okay, I've got you. I'm going to get this next one. And she's oh, I know. And so it's really nice to have that reassurance from a teammate that you trust. So I think that's definitely how I stay composed, but just falling back on the training that I've done.
What have you tried to gather from veterans on the team to try to continue to improve your level of play?
Yeah, I think just the standard here, that's what I've gathered from them, is that the standard is really high, and that if you go below it, it's not bad, but we've always worked to be better and to improve our standard. And I think that's what the upperclassmen do really well of telling the lower class or underclassmen, is making sure that we play and present ourselves at a high standard.
How important was this weekend and the success that your team had for the group as a whole after the previous weekend and going 1-2? How important was it this weekend to get those wins?
I think it's really special, especially being at home and it being my first time playing at home. So I think that it was really special, and I think that it really built up our confidence that kind of ebbed and flowed on the weekend before. So I think winning this weekend really helped instill the confidence that we are good and that we can do hard things.
You said first time playing at home. How would you describe the atmosphere all 3 days? They had a blackout Friday, then you had the whiteout Saturday, red out Sunday. How would you describe it?
I think it is just so surreal. I think going from watching the games like when you're younger and then coming and actually playing, like the experience is so different, but it's so special. Like seeing everyone that you see at school and in the town like come and support you at your game, like it's really special. And like I don't think you get that everywhere, and it's really nice to like walk out and see all the people that are behind you.
Was volleyball always the sport that you think you were going to follow this path on?
Yeah, there was a little bit where I was like, maybe soccer, but then I was like, no. But everyone always asks me about basketball, and I'm like, no, that's not me. That's my other siblings. So, but yeah, it's always pretty much been volleyball.
Where did your love for the game of volleyball come from?
Definitely my mom. My mom was my first volleyball coach, and she played in college. And so, like, when I was younger, I played my first year, and my mom was my coach, and I hated it. And she was like, no, Lauren, like, stick with it, stick with it. And then she was my coach for, I think, 2 more years after that. And, like, my love for the game just kept growing because my mom was always in my corner helping me get better and find my love for the game.
When you look at you growing up and into the sport of volleyball, what has been your focus on trying to improve your level of play, like from a young age to where you are now?
I think my focus has always just been, because I would say that I'm undersized for an outside, so I would say that just being able to be really aware of where I'm at on the court and where others are at on the court, and making sure that I'm like being shoddy and playing really smart volleyball, and always being able to increase my volleyball IQ, if that makes sense, because like I'm not going to be able to hit over top of 6'5" middle blockers, like, so I think that's what I've always been trying to improve, is just like my level of understanding of what's going on the other side of the court, if that makes sense.
Describe your recruiting process and ultimately what led you to South Dakota.
Yeah, so I actually didn't do a lot of recruiting process, because I came on one visit here and I was like, this is it. This is it for me. This feels like home. And so at the beginning it was a little rough, because I was like, I had hurt myself during the season where like recruiting is the biggest, I guess you could say, during club. And so I was a little nervous, but I came on my first visit here and I was like, I don't need to go anywhere else. Like, this is where I want to be.
What is more fun, the big kill or the big block?
I would say the big kill, because there is a whole process that goes into that kill, and it's not just you, like it's everyone that put effort into that.
No doubt. All right, big tournament coming up this weekend, another one for your team. You'll play on Thursday. What do you want to see out of your team this week to continue building into the team that you guys believe you can be?
Yeah, I just want to see us continue to be confident and continue to be aggressive and to not back down to who's on the other side of the net. I think that we did a really good job of that this weekend, and it didn't matter who was on the other side of the net. We focused on our side, and I really want to see that this weekend, because I really think that we can do a lot of special things.
All right, we'll look forward to it. Thanks for joining us on the Coyote Volleyball Show, and good luck the rest of the year.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
All right, that's Lauren Medeck joining us here on the Coyote Volleyball Show. When we come back, head coach Leanne Williamson rejoins us. We'll talk about the weekend ahead for Coyote Volleyball. That's on the way. This is the Coyote Volleyball Show presented by Scooters Coffee.
This segment brought to you by Scooters Coffee. Scooters Coffee. Amazing drinks, amazing people, amazingly fast.
Back on the Coyote Volleyball Show, I'm John Thayer, joined by head coach Leanne Williamson. The Coyote Volleyball Show is presented by Scooters Coffee. Coach, before we get into the upcoming weekend, we just had a conversation with Lauren Medeck, talk about a player that came in as a freshman, you had expectations for, a very good player, talented, but has come along very quickly in her collegiate career.
Yeah, that transition is always, it's different for everybody. Some people handle that transition from high school and club into college really well. Some people, it takes some time. And I think she kind of grasped it right away, and we saw a lot of potential out of her pretty quickly. And I think what's actually really cool about it too is she was playing just back row here to start with at the beginning of the season, but made a change, at some points, and has done some really good things offensively since. So, and I think it can always be hard for a player sometimes to not have that role right away and to not start right away at the beginning when they have those expectations for themselves as well. But I feel like she's handled it really well. She was a great teammate in those moments. She impacted the game the best she could when she was on the floor. And then when her opportunity came, she took advantage of it. And she's been really consistent, I think, especially these last 2 weekends, of just what kind of offensive and and defensive player she can be. So, and then this weekend, I mean, she really kind of took off. I think I would probably consider her a little bit of a gamer. You know, you put her in that game scenario and she just gets to this other level, both mentally and physically, where she's able to have a big impact. And we definitely saw her do just that.
How do you try to balance with young players like her, and you've had plenty of young players that have come on and had success, but you try to balance the idea that they have to be on the floor to really learn what this level's all about, but you don't want to put them in a bad situation. So it's kind of a balancing act.
Yeah, I think that's where our own gym and the depth that we see on our team is really important, because they can grow, they can learn, they can be challenged in our own gym every single day. They are not showing up to our gym and having a ton of success every single day. And that's because of the group that we have right now. So I think that's been good and that's helpful for them, that they're not getting sometimes this false sense of maybe where they can be. But obviously the game situations, it's just different. You know, having somebody across the net from you, you're really competing for an actual win or a loss, and there's just a little bit more pressure to it. So balancing that, I think just reminding them that it's a process. You know, we try to remind them that not every game is going to end in a win. Obviously, we'd love it to, and we've been very fortunate to have won a lot of those games, but that we are learning through both the wins and the losses, and that as the season progresses, you know, we really talked about the beginning of the year. Those first 2.5 weeks of preseason was our first kind of grouping of practices of let's be the best version we can at the end of there. Let's reevaluate when we get to that point. And then it's, hey, let's get through these next 4 weeks of preseason. We should be able to look back at that first check-in point, and we should be able to see growth. We should be able to see progress, and both as individuals and as a team. And we're a week away from that point, but I can already tell you that we're a different team than what we were 3 weeks ago. So I think just reminding them of that, because I think we can start to get very focused on maybe the errors or the not having as much success as they would like to, whether it's in our own gym or whether it's against somebody else. But just to remind them of the big picture. And sometimes it's important for us to remind ourselves of the big picture. We can get pretty focused on some of those things as well. So I think that balance of it, of demanding and setting high expectations for ourselves, but also reminding them that we can learn through failure.
How'd the new floor hold up for the first matches officially?
It was incredible. Watching it go down on Monday, Tuesday morning, and then obviously practicing on it last week, and then welcoming the fans in and other teams in. It just absolutely transformed the arena, and for this weekend, I think it was a great atmosphere for volleyball, not only for us, but hopefully the teams that came in and got to play in here as well. So we love it. I did poke a hole through the tape, not the floor, through the tape with my heels. So Sarah and I had a good laugh about that one, but it's great. I mean, we absolutely love it, and we got so many comments on it over the weekend that I think our fans are really enjoying it as well.
Look ahead to this weekend. You'll play on Thursday against Iowa. Obviously, another tournament in non-conference play coming up this weekend in the Iowa City area.
3 good competitions right away. Again, short turnaround. I think that's something that we're going to deal with this week, is playing that Friday, Saturday, Sunday this week, but then switching to Thursday, Friday, Saturday for this coming week is it's going to be a little bit tough. Today's an off day for us. Tomorrow we'll have a full practice here, and then we get on the road on Wednesday midday. So it's a quick turnaround, and we've talked about it just even after the match yesterday. Like, we've got to learn through some of the visual aspects of things. The film. Conversations of what needs to be changed, because we don't have as much time to actually get on the court and make adjustments. But obviously in Iowa, another Power 4 opponent for us to compete against, and I feel like we're going to match up really well there, but we've got to make sure that we show up. And if we do that, I think we can have a lot of success against both Iowa and then obviously Drake and SLU as well.
All right, we'll look forward to it, Coach. Thanks for the time. As always, have a great week and safe travels to Iowa.
Thank you.
All right, that's Leanne Williamson, the head volleyball coach at South Dakota. That's going to do it for us this week. I'm John Thayer. This has been the Coyote Volleyball Show, presented by Scooters Coffee.
The Coyote Volleyball Show is brought to you by Scooters Coffee. Scooters Coffee. Amazing drinks, amazing people, amazingly fast.